Remember that wealth and income are two different things. Wealth is your net worth, meaning your assets minus your debts, while income is what you have coming in as financial resources. Most often largely a work income, but sometimes financial investments or other windfalls. For most people, as they get older, they build their assets and accumulate wealth. This chart shows the differences in median wealth of U.S. families over a lifetime. Understand that one aspect of improving your ability to build wealth is what we've already discussed, cultural capital. Cultural capital consists of the social assets of a person, mostly referring to education, intellect, style of speech, dress, things like that, which promote social mobility in a stratified society. Another way of thinking about cultural capital is to think about the accumulation of knowledge, behaviors, the skills that one can tap into to demonstrate one's cultural competence and thus one's social status or standing in society. Note the chart, which indicates how wealth accumulation for the average family by racial categories has changed over the past 25 years. The dominant racial group, whites, are building a great more wealth, while minority groups are making very incremental changes. Different groups have experienced specific discrimination in the past. For instance, Native Americans did not believe in the ownership of land, but rather that the earth was something to respect and live off of. In 1962, the Homestead Act was passed, and that took land from the Great Plains Indians and gave 160 acres to white farmers if they would farm the land for 5 years. During the slavery years in our country, African Americans were not allowed to own property. After the Civil War, land was supposed to be distributed to freed slaves, but that program only lasted 7 years. And oftentimes the blacks did not have the resources to work the land anyway, and the land then reverted back to white ownership. In other instances, blacks became sharecroppers and had to split earnings with the whites that underwrote the farming expenses and also give a share of the crops to the whites. Latinos were disenfranchised from their lands when the U.S. took over what's now the state of Texas under the jurisdiction of Manifest Destiny. We now police the borders to assure Mexican citizens stay out of the U.S. Japanese citizens had to divest themselves with very little notice of their property and report to internment camps during World War II. You can see how these types of broad institutional laws and policies could affect wealth that people's ancestors could have built. In the past 50 years, political issues in Asian countries have forced Asians to immigrate to the U.S. Communist takeovers forced very fast evacuations, often via dangerous journeys across the ocean by boat from these countries. Various subcultures and nationalities have arrived in the U.S. at different times. Different types of occupations can have a wide disparity of pay outcomes. We know that there are differences between the percentages of whites in high-paying jobs and the percentages of minorities. Discrimination occurs not only at the hiring level, but also at the promotion level. Studies have demonstrated repeatedly when fictional resumes are sent with the same exact credentials and background, that those resumes that have more white-sounding names will often get a call back for more information or for an interview. According to Emily Walsh and Greg Baker's study, white-sounding names got callbacks 50% more of the time than more black-sounding names. Once hired, those that get promoted tend to more often be white. Affirmative action policies to enhance opportunities for women and minorities to get hired and then be promoted, they've been in place for about 50 years, yet there's still differences that favor whites in the hiring and promotion processes. This difference in promotion practice and the discrimination that supports white males in their upward career trajectory for promotion is what's called the glass ceiling, meaning that women and minorities are limited as far as their rise to the top goes. It also refers to the glass escalator, which appears to help assist white males to the top of the corporate ladder and into leadership positions.